It's basically a movie about four childhood friends who get caught up in the drug game. They started off small-time marijuana dealers and grow up to be the biggest coke dealers on Bluehill Avenue. The movie starts at the end, and then flashes back to their childhood. So, the films start with well vibes music where characters reloading their guns. This film has a different vibe where first dialogue is like, "There's a small place in the pit of my stomach that only reveals itself in moments like this. I should be used to this by now. This is a routine I knew too well, E-bone Tristan me. I've been through this too many times to come. Maybe it's because this time someone was missing. Still, something's not right. Pit never lies. Too late to turn back now." They go to a place to deal with their business. Where their Jack said, "What's up fellas, it's at the Tristan, then let's see it." Tristan said, "Shits first, Poppy." Then Jack shown them the drugs and Tristan shown them the Tristan. As always between a drug dealer and a seller they always pick a fight. Tristan takes us to his childhood while they were fighting. Tristan said, "They said a life come down to a series moment, and in those moments are choices, decisions that we make that could affect our lives forever. We're in one of the worst fights we had ever been. But all I could think about, the one thing kept echoing in my mind, how do we get here?" Back then, they were playing basketball with Blazing Butlers and they were older than Tristan's team. At a point Tristan's team win $20. They refused to give them the Tristan, then they took a fight. Meanwhile a girl calls Benny and stopped the fight and winning team got the Tristan. Tristan and others going home by footpath, they saw Twinkie. Twinkie noticed that they took a fight and Twinkie was so friendly with them. There was fascinating dialogue by Twinkie. "Let me learn you something, young Pam. Them hoes is for dope, not for show." E-Bone's Uncle Pee-wee is the kind of guy that could never quiet, the guy you have to be in the mood to hang around. Uncle Pee-wee said, "Why don't your partners go and take a run for me?" Tristan's echo saying that, "If you want really good stuff and for the dealer who never ran out of your favorite stash, you ready to go to Sam's place?" At Sam's underground, Tristan and others take some weed and ran away from that place. From that place they steal a lot of weed from there. Then, they were planning to sell weed at the school. They were worried about getting caught, that's why they don't supply to any teachers. Tristan's echo said, "At first, we thought Tristan was pretty good but we had to kick so much of it back to Sam that we'd realized he was the one getting paid. That's when I decided to grow our own shit." Twinkie helped them for it. They were feeling like they were living life. E-Bone gets beaten by some goons. Meanwhile Tristan and other come to visit him and Tristan said, "What happened?" E-Bone said, "Look, I was doing business on the street." But the others told him that they are just gonna do business only at the school. After that, Tristan's echo, "I wasn't content but what we had just dealing at school." E-Bone kicked off the inevitable. Then Tristan killed Blazing, and his echo keep telling him that, it was just business. After that they became gangster. But the main part begins when Tristan and others gets called by the superior of Blazings and request them to sell a new drug named crack. 12 years later, at the place of Uncle Barber's again, Tristan echo said, "And that was the beginning and this is the end. Brian Torrance and Auntie Tyler, they will detect us assigned to our case. So, you have to 12 years the local cops couldn't catch us. So the brass assigned Abbott Costello head and make their presence. Thanking the heat was on, we'd slow down a little, maybe make a mistake so they could catch us. As usual they were wrong." Torrance and Tristan had a real intense conversation. They were playing manipulation and threat each other like a gentleman. Then Uncle Rob said, "Crack is the problem and you are the biggest crack dealer in the South End." Tristan's echo hit again and said, "We set up correct houses all over the South End. Bluehill and Interval was where we made the bulk of our money. If you wanted cocaine, you just phoned it in and we came to you." E-Bone he cooked up the 8 keys a day without a failure. Then we have someone from the neighborhood. Simon runs the house. Money wasn't getting laid. He kept everyone in line if anything went wrong. Then at the next scene, Tristan goes home and conversate with his wife. Her wife wants him to quit this syndicate. But Tristan elaborates to her that he can't quit right now cause his friend needs him. They argue. Meanwhile telephone rang and Tristan left for the club. At the club Simon and others were there. Meanwhile Simon's phone rings and they left. They got a fight while they were left over. And Tristan realizes Uncle Rob was right about neighborhood, cause Uncle Rob warns him about neighborhood. Then they visit Blazing Superior and Superior wants them to cease selling drugs on Bluehill Avenue, cause the drug game is killing the pin game. Then Tristan and Blazing Superior makes a deal. After that Tristan figure out what's going on and Tristan said to Simon, "Make anything, we don't know what he's up to." And at the next scene Simon gets a nightmare and after that day Simon and Tristan meets and discussed about the plan. But their conversations was so deep they know that this would come. Then they discuss about the nightmare of Simon, and their friendship bond was damn cool. After that, Detective Tyler and Torrance manipulate Simon and others. Then at a bar, the drug dealers of begging part of the film show up and ask questions to the bartender. I'm looking for 4 brothers that running things out here. Bone, Bunny and Simon. Bring it, Bell. But the bartender refused to say anything about them. Those dealers were threatening the bartender. Beside there was another girl who said that to leave your number that would be best. Then those dealers give her the number and left. At the next part, that girl visits E-Bone and tells him about the dealers who were looking for them. And E-Bone said that he doesn't know any Jack. Then the girl said that, he said, it could mean a lot of money for you. Then E-Bone and Tristan and 2 friends meets and Tristan wants to walk out from the syndicate. Then they were argued and Tristan left the chat and goes to his vehicles. Meanwhile Simon came and stopped Tristan. At a point suddenly Tristan's sister showed up and disturbing Simon saying like, do you want a date? Tristan's sister was too depressed and looks like a drug addicted. Then Tristan's sister fall down and Tristan take her sister to a hospital. Tristan's parents were there too. Then Tristan's father said, we provided you a good home. Could have been anything you wanted to. Why do you sell drugs? At that point Tristan can't said what he really felt, he just replied, I'm good at it. Then Tristan left hospital. Meanwhile, E-Bone was hooking up with the girl who brought the number from the bartender. That girl provokes him to make a deal with Jack. That girl also said Jack is not a cop. The girl said, if you're so worried won't you haven't checked out. Detective Tyler and Torrance meets Tristan's wife. Tyler and Torrance try to get some information but they failed. Meanwhile Tristan noticed the detective and Martin. After that, Tristan was about her wife suspicious. Then Tristan gets home and talk about what was she doing with those detectives. Meanwhile, Simon saw that nightmare once again. And he wakes up from sleep. On the other hand, Twinkie was at his door. Twinkie was there to discuss about Benny and Twinkie said, you just kill Benny when you have the chance, man. And Simon was like, what? Actually, he came and said Twinkie was his father and he talked about this because he made a promise that he said, before one of us died, we both know the truth. Then Simon noticed Twinkie was sick and suddenly Twinkie shot him down and killed Simon. Simon's last words was, I got homies that will hunt you down to your drop. Before he died Simon writes something with his blood. Then Tristan got the intel that Twinkie killed Simon, and he also know that Twinkie was Simon's father. Then at the car they load their guns and they killed some goons who was in their way. Benny calls Twinkie and said, lay low for a while, we missed. On the other hand, Tristan, Money and E-Bone found out Twinkie while he was with his hose. And Tristan caught Twinkie and said, motherfucker, you had to know I was gonna come for your ass. Then they killed Twinkie as a revenge. Tristan called Jack the dealer of the beginning part of the movie. At a part they were planning how they gonna handle with Jack. Then Tristan echo hits and said, something in the pit told me not to go and I really meant to say, no. But Tristan decided to be with them at the route. Then E-Bone was getting out from house. Meanwhile detectives come and said that, where's Tristan? We know you were doing business at the Bluehill. Also, that detective knows and told E-Bone that they were gonna make a deal with Jack and his buddy Simon gets killed. And those cops were keeping questioning about Tristan. Then detectives and E-Bone makes a deal that those detective gonna take Tristan. They leave money with Betty. Everybody wheels away happy. And those detectives want E-Bone's answer. E-Bone said, you'll know when I call. If I call, look man, we do it in my way. Then E-Bone left. And the movies start from the begging, where they were shooting to at Jack Cruz. Then they managed to survive and killed every one of Jack Cruz. At a point E-Bone said, the detectives are after for Tristan. Then they argue and shot E-Bone shot Money and E-Bone said, Money, you know that shit, I'm sorry man. And Money shots E-Bone and killed him at the spot and Money died too. After that Tristan left the place and detective shows up at the spot. And detective calls Benny and said what happened at that spot. And Benny said, you fucked up on Tristan cop. I'll take care of myself motherfuckers. Then, Tristan goes to visit Benny and shown him that, the conversation about Benny and Twinkie, where Benny said, I want you to kill Simon. Twinkie refused to kill Simon, but Benny manipulates him and force him to that. Then Tristan said, cops are smart, they didn't tell the whole time the tape was running and you didn't mention him by name. So, that leaves you to take the fall all by yourself. And Tristan also said you could never beat me and throw that tape record to Benny and left off that place. And the film ends with Tristan's echo saying, I regret a lot of the things I've done. Maybe if we never took that stash from Lazing that day, maybe they would be still alive, but don't get it twisted. I'm not apologizing for any of it, right or wrong, good or bad, it was just who we were.